Hey guys, tonight we're going to take a little trip, not to the bustling streets of ancient Thebes or the grand temples of Karnak, but to a quieter, greener corner of that incredible civilization. Imagine, if you will, the sun setting over the Nile, painting the sky in hues of fiery orange and soft violet. You're standing on the bank, the warm, dry air gently brushing against your skin, carrying with it the subtle, earthy scent of damp soil and blooming flowers. A gentle breeze whispers through the date palms, their fronds rustling like ancient secrets. You hear the distant caws of waterfowl and maybe, just maybe, the soft plash of a crocodile slipping into the water. This isn't the Egypt of pharaohs and pyramids we usually picture, at least not directly. No, tonight we're going to step into the hidden, fragrant worlds of the forgotten gardens of ancient Egypt, to uncover the plants that once thrived there, plants that were as vital to their daily lives and spiritual beliefs as the very river itself. You might think, gardens in a desert. How on earth did that work? And you'd be right to wonder. It's a testament to their ingenuity, their profound connection to the land, and their unyielding ability to coax life from what seems like an impossible landscape. We're not just talking about a few potted plants, either. We're talking about lush, vibrant spaces, sacred groves, temple gardens, palatial retreats, and humble plots, all teeming with life, much of which has faded from our collective memory, overshadowed by the monumental architecture and glittering gold. These weren't just pretty places. They were pharmacies, pantries, places of worship, and havens of peace. You're about to discover a side of ancient Egypt that's often overlooked, a world of botanical wonders that provided sustenance, medicine, beauty, and profound spiritual meaning. Be warned though, after hearing about the sheer determination and cleverness it took to cultivate these green oases in a land that largely resembles a giant sandpit, you probably won't survive your next attempt at keeping a houseplant alive. It's a bit humbling, really so. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening in, let me know where you are in the world and what time it is for you right now. It's always wild to think about us all connecting across time zones, sharing this little moment now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself transported, not by magic carpet, but by the gentle flow of imagination, to the fertile banks of the Nile. It's here, where the river generously spreads its life-giving silt each year, that the story of ancient Egyptian gardens truly begins. You see, without the Nile, there would be no gardens. There would be no Egypt as we know it, full stop. This isn't just a river. It's the very artery of existence for this civilization. You watch as the annual inundation recedes, leaving behind a rich, dark layer of topsoil, a natural fertilizer that would make modern gardeners weep with envy. It's this annual gift, coupled with the relentless Egyptian sun, that created the perfect, if challenging, conditions for agriculture and horticulture. You can almost feel the sticky, nutrient-rich mud squelching between your toes as you walk. The newly revealed banks, think about it, a narrow strip of emerald green, hugging the serpentine course of the Nile, flanked on either side by vast, unforgiving deserts. The contrast is stark, almost theatrical. The Egyptians, masters of observation and innovation, didn't just passively accept this gift. They harnessed it. You watch as they develop sophisticated irrigation systems, a network of canals, shadufs, those clever counterweighted water lifts, and even rudimentary water wheels, all designed to channel the Nile's bounty further inland, beyond the immediate floodplains. It's backbreaking work, pushing and pulling those water-laden buckets, but it's essential. Every drop of water is precious, a lifeline in a land of thirst. You can almost hear the rhythmic creak of the shadoof and the splash of water filling the channels. It's a symphony of survival and ingenuity. These early garden spaces, whether humble domestic plots or grander temple precincts, weren't just decorative. Oh no, that would be far too frivolous for a people so pragmatic. Every plant, every tree, served a purpose. You see women tending small vegetable patches, plucking ripe lettuce, a staple, believed to be an aphrodisiac, go figure, or gathering onions and garlic, the very building blocks of the Egyptian diet. These aren't just crunchy additions to a meal. They're seen as powerful, even sacred, foods, imbued with protective qualities. One wonders if ancient Egyptian dating advice included bring her a bouquet of garlic and a side of lettuce for guaranteed success. Probably not, but it's a fun thought. As you wander deeper into these nascent gardens, you notice something else. The Egyptians weren't just growing food. They were cultivating a sense of order, a microcosm of their ideal world. Their gardens were often laid out in highly symmetrical patterns, with rectangular beds, straight paths, and evenly spaced trees. It reflects their deep-seated belief in Mat, the concept of cosmic balance and harmony. Every element has its place, every plant, its purpose, much like the ordered universe they believed in. You can almost feel the gentle hum of this deliberate order, a sense of peace that permeates these green spaces beyond the practical. There's a strong spiritual dimension to these early gardens. You see offerings of fresh produce and fragrant flowers laid at small shrines, recognizing the god's role in the fertility of the land. The very act of gardening, of nurturing life from the soil, was a form of devotion. The sun god, Ra, the life-giving Nile itself, and various fertility deities were all honored in these botanical sanctuaries. It wasn't just about what they grew, but how they grew it, with reverence and a profound understanding of their symbiotic relationship with nature. Historians still argue whether the geometric layout of gardens was primarily aesthetic or deeply symbolic of cosmic order. Perhaps it was both, a beautiful reflection of their holistic worldview. You also begin to see the introduction of shade trees, a luxury in the blistering Egyptian sun. Sycamore figs are common, their broad leaves offering cool respite, their fruit providing sweet sustenance. You might even spot a dom palm, its unique branching pattern a distinctive silhouette against the sky. These trees aren't just for shade. They become focal points, places where families gather, where stories are told, and where the harshness of the desert is momentarily forgotten. Imagine the sheer relief of stepping into the cool embrace of a sycamore's shade after hours under that relentless sun. It's a simple pleasure, yet profoundly significant. The act of watering these plants, of coaxing life from the earth, was also deeply ritualistic. You see the gardeners, often slaves or skilled laborers, meticulously tending to each plant, ensuring it receives its share of the precious water. It's a constant battle against desiccation, a reminder of the ever-present threat of the desert reclaiming what the river has given. This constant vigilance forged a deep respect for the plants themselves, seeing them not just as resources, but as living entities to be cared for. It's a different kind of bond than modern agriculture, more personal, more intimate. You hear the soft trickle of water through the narrow channels, a sound of life sustained, the seeds for future more elaborate gardens are being sown in these early stages. The knowledge gained from these initial attempts at cultivation, the understanding of which plants thrive, which need more water, which offer the best yields or the most potent medicines, will form the bedrock of later, more ambitious horticultural projects. You can almost see the knowledge being passed down, generation to generation, hands and empirical wisdom perfected over centuries. It's an oral tradition, a muscle memory passed from elder to youth, a whisper in the wind that carries the secrets of the fertile land as the sun dips lower. Casting long shadows across the nascent garden, you feel the day's heat slowly dissipate. The air grows cooler, and the scent of the damp earth becomes more pronounced, mingled with a faint fragrance of something blooming nearby. You realize that these early gardens, while perhaps less grand than the temple complexes or royal estates that would come later, were the vital first steps. They were the crucible where the Egyptians learned to tame their environment, to create beauty and abundance in defiance of the desert. They laid the foundation for the incredible botanical diversity that would grace their later, more renowned green spaces. It's a silent, often unacknowledged testament to their deep connection to the land, a connection forged in the mud and nurtured by the lifeblood of the Nile. You can almost feel the earth breathing, alive and fertile beneath your feet, ready to yield its forgotten treasures. As you move further into the ancient Egyptian landscape, guided by the scent of damp earth and the distant murmur of the Nile, your eyes are inevitably drawn to a particular flower, one that seems to grace almost every depiction of life, death, and divinity, the sacred lotus. You've probably seen it on tomb paintings, carved into temple walls, or fashioned into elaborate jewelry. It's everywhere, a silent, pervasive symbol, and for good reason. This isn't just a pretty bloom. It's practically the national emblem of ancient Egypt, a deeply intertwined symbol of creation, rebirth, and the sun itself. You feel its profound presence, almost as if the air around it hums with ancient significance. There were primarily two types of lotus cherished by the Egyptians: the blue lotus, Nymphea caerulea, and the white lotus, Nymphea lotus. While both held immense spiritual weight, the blue lotus often gets the most attention, perhaps because of its captivating beauty and its connection to altered states of consciousness. Imagine, if you will, standing by a still pond at dawn, as the first rays of the sun kiss the water. You watch in silent awe as the blue lotus blossoms slowly, majestically unfurl their petals, revealing a vibrant golden center. They emerge from the muddy depths, unsullied, reaching towards the light. Then, as dusk settles, they gently close, sinking back beneath the surface, only to re-emerge with the new day. This daily cycle, this seemingly miraculous resurrection from the dark waters, perfectly mirrored the Egyptian belief in rebirth and regeneration. It was a living, breathing metaphor for the sun god Ra's journey across the sky and his nightly descent into the underworld, only to be reborn each morning. You can practically hear the quiet plink as a water droplet slides off a waxy petal dot. Now, while we often call them lotus, technically, the Egyptian blue and white flowers are true water lilies. But the ancient Egyptians didn't fuss over botanical classifications like we do today. For them, it was the essence, the symbolism that mattered. And the symbolism of these aquatic beauties was potent. The lotus often appears with Ra, symbolizing his daily rebirth. It's also strongly associated with Nefertum, the god of perfumes, healing, and beauty, who often appears with a lotus blossom as his crown. You can almost smell the intoxicating, delicate fragrance that emanates from the blue lotus, a scent that was highly prized and carefully extracted for perfumes and unguents. One might even joke that Nefertiti probably had the best-smelling wardrobe in the entire Egyptian pantheon. Beyond its spiritual significance, the lotus played a practical role in daily life. Its roots, seeds, and even its young leaves were consumed. You might see a vendor at the market selling lotus seeds, which, when dried and ground, could be used as flour. The roots, starchy and nutritious, were eaten, cooked. So, while it was a divine symbol, it also provided sustenance, a common thread among many sacred plants in ancient cultures. It's a bit like how we might revere a specific breed of cattle for its beauty, but still appreciate a good steak. The white lotus shared much of the blue lotus's symbolism, also opening at sunrise and closing at sunset. However, the blue lotus seems to have held a particular mystique, especially regarding its psychoactive properties. There's a theory, debated among Egyptologists and botanists, that the blue lotus might have been used in ritualistic settings to induce a mild state of euphoria or altered consciousness. You see depictions of banquets where guests are holding blue lotus blossoms to their noses, seemingly inhaling their fragrance. Some suggest that the flower, when steeped in wine, could have enhanced the intoxicating effects, leading to a gentle, dreamy state. This isn't a party drug in the modern sense, but rather a tool for spiritual transcendence, a way to connect more deeply with the divine. Imagine a feast, the air thick with incense and the soft scent of lotus, voices hushed, a feeling of serene contentment settling over the participants. Historians still argue whether the blue lotus's primary role was symbolic, or if its mild psychoactive properties were actively exploited in religious ceremonies. Perhaps it was a delightful combination of both, a beautiful flower that also helped you see the world just a little bit differently. The lotus was also a potent symbol in funerary rites. You see it frequently depicted on coffins, sarcophagi, and in tomb paintings, often emerging from the primordial waters, symbolizing the deceased's rebirth into the afterlife. A common motif is the mummiform god Osiris emerging from a lotus, signifying his resurrection. It was believed that just as the lotus rose from the muddy waters each day, the deceased would rise from the darkness of death into the eternal light of the field of reeds. This constant reassurance of renewal, embodied by the lotus, must have been incredibly comforting in a society so preoccupied with the afterlife. You can almost feel the hope it would have instilled in those preparing for their final journey. Beyond the major types, there might have been other, less common aquatic plants that graced the edges of ponds and canals, but the lotus, in its blue and white forms, truly dominated the watery landscapes of Egyptian gardens. These plants weren't just cultivated in grand temple gardens or royal estates. You would have found them in smaller, private ponds within wealthier homes, their delicate blooms bringing beauty and spiritual resonance to daily life. Even a humble fish pond might have a few lotus plants, adding a touch of elegance and meaning. The lotus was also a powerful artistic motif. Its distinctive shape, with its radiating petals, was incorporated into architectural designs, pottery, and jewelry. You'd see lotus capitals adorning columns, mimicking the flower's graceful form, or intricate lotus patterns decorating a queen's diadem. It was a visual shorthand for all that was sacred and beautiful in their world. The ubiquitous presence of the lotus reminds you that ancient Egyptian art wasn't just about aesthetics. It was deeply symbolic, every line and curve imbued with meaning. Interestingly, the lotus was also a symbol of Upper Egypt, while the papyrus, which we'll get to later, symbolized Lower Egypt. When you see depictions of the Sematoi or the union of the two lands, you often see the lotus and papyrus intertwined, representing the unified kingdom under one pharaoh. This wasn't just a political statement, it was a cosmic one, recognizing the complementary nature of these two vital plants from different parts of their unified world. It's a bit like two rival sports teams suddenly finding themselves on the same side and realizing they actually make a pretty good duo. The care and cultivation of lotus flowers in ancient gardens would have been meticulous. They required still, shallow water, rich in nutrients, and plenty of sunlight. Gardeners would have carefully managed water levels, perhaps even creating dedicated pools for these prized blooms. You can picture them wading into the cool water, gently checking the health of the plants, their hands stained with the rich mud, their faces shaded by wide-brimmed hats. It's a labor of love, a dedication to nurturing life and maintaining the sacred order. The enduring legacy of the lotus is a testament to its profound impact on ancient Egyptian culture. Even today, its image evokes a sense of ancient mystery and spiritual depth. When you see a lotus flower, whether in art or in nature, you're not just looking at a beautiful bloom. You're looking at a living link to a civilization that understood, perhaps better than any other, the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, and chose this humble yet magnificent flower as its most eloquent expression. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are found in the simplest, most elegant forms. As the light fades, you see the last blue lotus blossoms of the day gently folding themselves back into the water, a silent promise of renewal with the coming dawn. You gently drift away from the mesmerizing ponds of the lotus, your imaginary journey now taking you to another ubiquitous plant of ancient Egypt, one far less flamboyant but infinitely more practical, papyrus. When you hear papyrus, your mind probably jumps immediately to scrolls, to hieroglyphs whispering secrets from millennia ago, and you'd be absolutely right to make that association. Papyrus, Cypherus. Papyrus was indeed the bedrock of ancient Egyptian record-keeping, the very paper of their age. But to limit its identity to merely a writing surface would be like saying a cow is just milk. No, papyrus was a multi-purpose marvel, a veritable Swiss Army knife of the plant world, and it grew in dense, towering thickets along the marshy fringes of the Nile, a dominant feature of the landscape. Imagine yourself now, standing at the edge of a vast papyrus marsh. The stalks tower over your head, reaching heights of up to 15 feet, their slender, green stems topped with feathery, umbrella-like flower heads. The air is thick with the buzzing of insects and the calls of hidden birds. You can hear the gentle rustle of the stalks as a breeze sweeps through them, a sound that must have been constant background noise for anyone living near the river. This isn't a cultivated garden in the manicured sense, but rather a wild, abundant resource that Egyptians learned to harvest and utilize with incredible ingenuity. You might even feel a tiny, ticklish bug landing on your arm, a gentle reminder of the marsh's vibrant ecosystem. The most famous use of papyrus, of course, was for writing material. You'd see teams of workers, perhaps even a few children, expertly cutting the mature stalks. They'd then peel away the tough outer rind, revealing the pithy core. This pith was sliced into thin strips, laid side by side, and then another layer was placed perpendicular to the first. With pressure and time, the plant's own sap acted as a natural adhesive, binding the strips into a durable sheet. These sheets could then be joined to form long scrolls, ready for the scribes to record everything from sacred texts and legal documents to shopping lists and love poems. It was revolutionary technology, far superior to clay tablets or animal skins, allowing for the widespread dissemination of knowledge and bureaucracy. One could even say it was the ancient Egyptian equivalent of high-speed internet, minus the cat videos. Though, knowing human nature, they probably found a way to draw cats on it eventually. But papyrus was so much more than just a writing surface. Its versatility was truly astonishing. You'd see it used to construct lightweight boats, essential for navigating the shallow waters of the marshes and for fishing. Imagine a simple craft made by binding bundles of papyrus stalks together, surprisingly buoyant and maneuverable. These boats weren't meant for long journeys on the open Nile, but were perfect for local travel and hunting in the reedy wetlands. You might even see a fisherman paddling one of these, his net poised, a testament to the simplicity and effectiveness of the design. Beyond transportation, papyrus provided materials for everyday life. The fibrous outer rind, though tough, could be braided into ropes and cords, strong enough for various tasks, from tying up livestock to securing loads on boats. You'd see baskets meticulously woven from dried papyrus, perfect for carrying produce from the fields or storing household goods. Even humble mats for sleeping or sitting were fashioned from its resilient fibers. It was a true zero-waste plant, almost every part of it finding a practical application. Historians still debate whether the earliest papyrus boats were simply utilitarian rafts, or if they had a more symbolic, almost spiritual significance for navigating the waters of the afterlife, akin to a divine fairy in the gardens themselves. Papyrus wasn't always a cultivated plant in the beds, but it certainly bordered ponds and canals, creating a lush, green backdrop. Wealthier gardens might have featured carefully managed papyrus thickets, perhaps to provide shade or simply for their aesthetic appeal, their tall, graceful forms adding vertical interest to the landscape. They also played an important ecological role, filtering water and providing habitat for various birds and fish, making the garden ponds feel more natural and alive. You can almost hear the gentle splash of a fish jumping in the water, disturbed by something moving in the papyrus, and let's not forget its symbolic significance. Just as the lotus symbolized Upper Egypt, the papyrus symbolized Lower Egypt. You'd often see them entwined in art, representing the unification of the two lands under a single pharaoh. It's a powerful visual metaphor for harmony and strength. Through unity, deeply embedded in the iconography of the kingdom, this was more than just a plant. It was a representation of the very land itself. The use of papyrus extended even to less obvious applications. Its tough, fibrous rootstock could be used as fuel for fires, particularly in areas where wood was scarce. You might see a small fire crackling, fed by dried papyrus roots, the scent of its smoke mingling with the humid air, and its ash could even be used in the production of glass and pottery, demonstrating its surprisingly diverse contributions to ancient industries. Imagine, the very plant that gave them their written history also helped them create the vessels to store their food and drink. It's an understated genius of resourcefulness. The cultivation and harvesting of papyrus was a significant industry. While it grew wild in abundance, managing these resources, ensuring a continuous supply for the vast bureaucratic machinery of the state, would have required considerable organization. You can almost picture the overseers directing teams of harvesters, carefully ensuring that the marshes weren't overexploited. It was a delicate balance between utilizing a valuable resource and maintaining its natural abundance. Moreover, the wajet, or papyrus scepter, was a common symbol of vitality and youth, often held by deities and pharaohs. It represents flourishing life and prosperity. So, it wasn't just a utilitarian plant. It was directly linked to the very concept of well-being and life force. It's a reminder that even the most practical items in ancient Egypt often carried profound spiritual weight. It's like finding out your favorite stapler also moonlights as a symbol of eternal youth. A little bit unexpected, but certainly adds to its charm. Today, wild papyrus is less common in Egypt due to changes in the Nile's flow and agricultural practices, making its abundance in ancient times even more remarkable. The towering thick that once dominated the delta are largely gone, a reminder of how human activity can alter even the most enduring natural landscapes. But in your mind's eye, you still see them stretching for miles. A green wall of life, humming with the activity of a civilization that knew how to make the absolute most of every gift nature bestowed upon them. As you step away from the edge of the papyrus marsh, the faint rustling sound follows you, a ghostly whisper of its past omnipresence. You realize that while the lotus captured the heart and soul of the Egyptians with its beauty and symbolism, papyrus was the unsung hero, the backbone of their daily existence, their administration, and their very communication. It allowed their thoughts, their stories, and their laws to transcend time, reaching us millennia later, a quiet testament to its extraordinary power. Without it, so much of what we know about ancient Egypt would remain forever shrouded in the sands of time, leaving the rustling papyrus behind. Your imagination now takes you deeper into the cultivated spaces of ancient Egypt, into gardens where specific trees held profound significance. One such tree, often overlooked but deeply woven into the fabric of Egyptian mythology and daily life, is the Persea tree, Mimosaups schimperi. This isn't the avocado tree we know today. It's a different species, native to the region, and its presence in ancient Egyptian gardens carried both practical benefits and rich spiritual meaning, especially concerning the journey through the afterlife. Imagine stepping into a serene temple garden, the air heavy with the scent of blooming flowers, and the distant murmur of priestly chants. Here, amidst orderly rows of other plants, you notice a tree with dense, glossy green leaves, offering a generous canopy of shade. This is the Persea. Its branches are laden with small, round, yellowish-red fruits that, when ripe, offer a sweet, date-like flavor. You can almost feel the gentle breeze rustling its leaves, creating a soft, whispering sound. This wasn't a common garden variety for every household. It was a prized addition, often found in temple precincts, royal estates, and the gardens of the elite. Underscoring its special status, the Persea tree was far more than just a shade provider or a fruit bearer. It held a sacred connection to the sun god Ra and the god of the dead, Osiris. Perhaps its most famous association is with the myth of the Isht tree, a divine Persea tree often depicted in the Hall of Mat. In this sacred tree, the gods Thoth and Seshat, the deities of writing and knowledge, were said to inscribe the name of the pharaoh on its leaves or fruits, ensuring his eternal life and destiny. You can almost see the golden hieroglyphs shimmering on the leaves, linking the pharaoh's reign to cosmic order. This act wasn't just symbolic, it was believed to literally record the pharaoh's years of rule and secure his place in the divine order. It was the ultimate tree of life, securing a monarch's immortality. This belief in the Persea as a tree of life and eternal record-keeping made it an indispensable element in funerary contexts. You'd often find depictions of the deceased standing beneath a pasea tree, receiving nourishment or water from a goddess, typically Nut, the sky goddess, or Hathor, the goddess of joy, love, and motherhood. This scene symbolized the deceased's successful journey to the afterlife and their rebirth, nourished by divine essence. It's a powerful image of comfort and sustenance in the eternal realm, providing a sense of continuation rather than finality. Imagine the relief and hope this imagery would have brought to those mourning their loved ones. The fruit of the pasea tree, though small, was highly valued. It provided a sweet, nutritious snack, and its consumption was likely associated with vitality and divine favor. You might even imagine offering a small, ripe pasea fruit to a passing deity, a symbol of your devotion and hope for their blessing. While not as universally consumed as dates or figs, it was a delicacy for those who could access it. Its rarity likely only enhanced its perceived value, adding to its sacred aura. Beyond its mythological role, the pasea tree had practical uses, though perhaps less common than other trees. Its wood, though not as widespread as acacia or sycamore, was used for specific purposes, possibly in the crafting of religious artifacts or furniture for the elite. Its leaves and bark might have had medicinal applications, though these are less well documented than those of other plants. Historians still argue whether the PRC's primary value was its symbolic power or its actual physical produce. Given the Egyptians' pragmatic nature, it was likely a powerful combination of both. A plant that delivered on both the spiritual and the nutritional fronts. You might even find the pasea tree carefully cultivated within the private gardens of high-ranking officials or nobles. These individuals, aspiring to emulate the pharaoh and secure their own journey to the afterlife, would have included sacred trees in their personal oases. Such trees would not only provide a source of fresh fruit and pleasant shade, but also serve as a constant visual reminder of their spiritual aspirations and connection to the divine. It was a tangible link to eternity, right there in your backyard. One could almost imagine an ancient Egyptian noble boasting, "Oh, this old thing. Just my personal tree of life, keeping me immortal. No big deal." The pasea tree's connection to Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming and the underworld, is also worth noting. Anubis was often depicted beneath a pasea tree, particularly in scenes related to the weighing of the heart in the Hall of Mat. While the primary association with Anubis is usually with cemeteries and mummification, the presence of the pasea here further solidifies its role as a sacred arbiter in the transition from life to death and into the eternal realm. It's almost as if the pasea was a witness to the ultimate judgment, its leaves quietly observing the fate of souls. The care required for a pasea tree in an ancient Egyptian garden would have been significant. They prefer warm climates and well-drained soil, but in the arid Egyptian landscape, they would have needed consistent irrigation. Gardeners would have meticulously channeled water from canals to ensure these sacred trees thrived, understanding that their well-being was intertwined with the spiritual well-being of the pharaoh and the deceased. It was a horticultural responsibility, with cosmic implications. As you reflect on the pasea tree, you realize that its quiet presence in ancient Egyptian gardens speaks volumes about their worldview. It wasn't just about beauty or sustenance. It was about the profound interconnectedness of life, death, and divinity. Every tree, every plant had a story, a purpose that stretched beyond the physical realm into the very fabric of their spiritual beliefs. The pasea with its association with immortality, divine records, and nourishment in the afterlife, stands as a testament to their deep-seated desire for eternal life and their belief in a meticulously ordered cosmos. Its green leaves and sweet fruits offered not just shade and food, but also a profound sense of hope and continuity. As you move on, you carry with you the image of those inscribed leaves, silently recording destinies under the Egyptian sun. Drifting from the sacred sea, you find yourself drawn to a less imposing, yet incredibly powerful plant that secretly shaped aspects of ancient Egyptian daily life. The moringa tree, Moringa peregrina, or Moringa oleifera, often called the miracle tree today for its astonishing nutritional and medicinal properties. The ancient Egyptians seem to have intuited its value millennia ago. This isn't a tree that typically dominates grand garden designs, but rather one whose subtle presence provided potent benefits for health, beauty, and even mummification. Imagine a quieter corner of a larger garden, perhaps near a domestic dwelling or a temple devoted to healing. Here you spot a relatively slender tree, often with delicate, feathery leaves and small, whitish flowers that hang in clusters. Its most distinctive feature, however, might be its long, slender pods, somewhat resembling drumsticks, which give it one of its common names, the drumstick tree. This is the moringa, unassuming in appearance, but a powerhouse of hidden virtues. You might feel a gentle rustle as a light breeze moves through its delicate foliage. The true marvel of the moringa to the ancient Egyptians lay in its seeds. These small, unassuming seeds, found within the long pods, were a treasure trove. When pressed, they yielded a high-quality, stable oil known as bionic acid, a fatty acid found in the oil. This oil was highly prized, not just for its emollient properties, but also for its remarkable resistance to rancidity. In a hot, arid climate where fats could quickly spoil, this stability was a game-changer. You can almost smell the faint, nutty aroma of the freshly pressed oil, a scent of purity and preservation. So what did the Egyptians use this precious barren oil for? Oh, where to begin? Primarily, it was a cosmetic powerhouse. You'd see it liberally, applied as a moisturizer to protect skin from the harsh desert sun and wind, keeping it supple and youthful. Imagine a noble woman anointing herself with this luxurious oil after bathing, her skin gleaming softly in the dim light. It was also used as a base for various ointments and perfumes, helping to carry and preserve other fragrant botanical extracts. The stability of moringa oil meant that these precious scents would last longer, making it an invaluable component in the creation of lavish unguents and fragrant cones worn on the head during banquets. It's a bit like finding out your grandmother's secret beauty cream was actually super ancient and still works wonders. Beyond cosmetics, moringa oil played a crucial role in medicine. Its anti-inflammatory and antiseptic properties were likely recognized, making it a valuable ingredient in salves for wounds, skin conditions, and even for easing muscle aches. You might imagine a temple physician carefully mixing herbs with moringa oil to create a soothing poultice for an ailing patient. Its internal use is less clear, but given the nutritional density of moringa today, rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, it's plausible that parts of the plant were consumed for their health benefits, perhaps as a general tonic. Historians still argue whether the medicinal properties of moringa were fully understood through empirical observation or attributed to divine intervention due to its miraculous effects. And here's a quirky tidbit. The stability of moringa oil made it a valuable ingredient in the embalming process. While we often think of natron, salt, resins, and linen, certain high-quality oils were used to prepare the body, keeping the skin supple and helping to preserve tissues. Bean oil, with its excellent preservative qualities, would have been a top choice for the elite, ensuring the deceased looked their best for their eternal journey. It's a rather macabre, yet entirely practical, application for a beauty product. Talk about looking good for eternity. The cultivation of moringa would have been a deliberate effort in ancient Egyptian gardens. While drought-tolerant, it would still require some irrigation, especially in its early stages, to ensure a good yield of seeds. You might observe gardeners carefully harvesting the long pods, ensuring they are mature enough for oil extraction, their hands busy with the delicate work. The demand for this valuable oil would have made its cultivation a profitable endeavor for those who had the means and knowledge to grow it. You also recognize the ingenuity of a people who could identify such a potent resource in a seemingly ordinary tree. This speaks to their deep knowledge of botany and their extensive experimentation with natural substances. They weren't just gathering, they were actively researching and refining their understanding of plant properties, much like ancient pharmacists and chemists. It's a testament to a scientific approach, even if framed within a spiritual context. While moringa was important for its oil, there's less direct evidence of the leaves being a major dietary staple as they are in some cultures today. However, given their incredible nutritional profile, often cited as having more vitamin C than oranges, more vitamin A than carrots, and more potassium than bananas, it's not inconceivable that they were consumed, especially in times of scarcity or for specific medicinal purposes. The Egyptians were adept at finding nourishment wherever they could. Perhaps a quick snack on a handful of moringa leaves was their version of a modern multivitamin. The presence of the moringa tree, even in a seemingly modest corner of the garden, highlights the multifunctional nature of ancient Egyptian horticulture. These weren't just decorative spaces, they were vital extensions of the household and temple, providing essential resources for health, spiritual practices, and daily living. Every plant had a role, a contribution to the well-being of the individual and the state. As you consider the unassuming moringa, you appreciate its quiet power. It wasn't the showstopper like the lotus or the architectural marvel like the date palm, but it provided essential elements for comfort, healing, and even eternal preservation. Its presence in ancient Egyptian gardens underscores a sophisticated understanding of natural resources, a practical wisdom that reached far beyond mere aesthetics. Its legacy lives on today as modern science rediscovers its incredible benefits. Echoing the ancient Egyptians' foresight, you can almost feel the smooth, clean sensation of that ancient oil on your skin, a timeless balm from a forgotten garden. Leaving the quiet, medicinal corner where the moringa tree offered its hidden powers, your journey now takes you into a more intriguing, perhaps even unsettling, part of the ancient Egyptian garden, the realm of the mandrake, Mandragora officinarum. This isn't just any plant. This is a plant steeped in myth, mystery, and a potent blend of allure and danger. Its roots resemble a human form, leading to a rich folklore of magical properties, making it a truly fascinating, if somewhat eerie, occupant of ancient gardens. Imagine stepping into a less formal, almost wilder section of a garden, perhaps one belonging to a practitioner of magic or a temple dedicated to fertility. There, amongst other plants, you notice a low-growing plant with large, dark green leaves forming a rosette close to the ground. In the center, you might see small, bell-shaped purple or greenish-white flowers, which later give way to bright, fleshy, yellowish-orange fruits, resembling small tomatoes or plums. This is the mandrake, and its unassuming appearance belies its powerful reputation. You might feel a slight shiver, a sense of ancient energies lingering around this peculiar plant. The most captivating, and perhaps disturbing, aspect of the mandrake is its root. Often forked, it can bear a striking resemblance to a human figure, complete with legs and sometimes even arms. This anthropomorphic quality fueled centuries of superstition and gave rise to countless myths. The Egyptians, like many ancient cultures, believed that anything resembling a human form held special magical potency. They saw the mandrake root as a miniature, magical human imbued with powerful, often contradictory, forces. Because of this human-like root, the mandrake was intimately associated with fertility and love. You'd often find depictions of the mandrake, fruit in funerary contexts, alongside other symbols of regeneration, hoping to grant the deceased a fertile existence in the afterlife. But more directly, it was believed to be a powerful aphrodisiac and fertility aid. Imagine a woman hoping to conceive, perhaps consuming the fruit or even wearing a small amulet carved from its root, believing it would invoke the plant's potent reproductive energies. It was perhaps the ancient Egyptian equivalent of a love potion, guaranteed to, well, liven things up. One can almost picture the hushed whispers about its effects, passed down through generations. However, the mandrake's power wasn't solely benevolent. It's a member of the nightshade family, containing potent alkaloids like scopolamine and atropine. In small doses, these can have sedative, hypnotic, and even hallucinogenic effects. In larger doses, they are highly toxic, leading to delirium, convulsions, and even death. The Egyptians, through empirical observation, would have certainly understood its potent, dual nature. You can almost feel a strange, disorienting sensation in the air, a hint of its mind-altering properties. So, while it was used for fertility, it was also likely employed in ritualistic or medicinal contexts to induce trance-like states or as a powerful analgesic. Imagine a priestess or a shaman consuming a carefully prepared mandrake concoction to facilitate visions or communicate with the divine. The line between medicine and magic was often blurred in ancient Egypt, and the mandrake stood firmly in that liminal space. This dual capacity to both enhance life and threaten it made it a subject of both reverence and fear. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians fully grasped the pharmacological mechanisms of the mandrake or if its effects were attributed entirely to its perceived magical essence. The cultivation of mandrake would have required careful handling. While it grows wild in some parts of the Mediterranean, tending it in a garden setting would imply an intentional desire to harness its properties. Gardeners would have needed to know precisely when to harvest its roots and how to safely prepare its various parts for use. You might see a gardener, gloved, perhaps even muttering protective incantations, as they gingerly unearth the mandrake root, respecting its powerful, unpredictable nature. It wasn't a plant you just casually picked. In art, the mandrake often appears alongside the lotus in banquet scenes, sometimes held by guests or offered to them. While the lotus provided a gentle euphoria, the mandrake might have offered something more potent, a deeper dive into altered perception. These weren't necessarily wild orgies, but gatherings where the boundaries of consciousness were explored, perhaps to deepen spiritual connection or simply to enhance revelry. It's a curious contrast, the serene lotus and the enigmatic mandrake both contributing to the atmosphere of a feast. It's like having a calming playlist and then suddenly switching to something with a really heavy bass line. The fruit itself, often called Satan's apple in later European folklore due to its hallucinogenic properties, was also recognized for its sweet, although somewhat sickly, flavor. You might see children being warned away from the tempting-looking fruits, knowing their potential for harm. This dichotomy, delicious fruit, dangerous root, adds another layer to its enigmatic nature. It's a plant that tests your discernment, tempting with one hand while holding a warning in the other. The mandrake also found its way into love, charms, and amulets. Small figurines carved to resemble the human-like root were sometimes carried as protective talismans or to attract a lover. The belief in its power to influence affairs of the heart was widespread, making it a sought-after ingredient in the often complex world of ancient Egyptian magic. You can almost feel the desperate hopes and desires woven into these small, potent artifacts. Its presence in ancient Egyptian gardens, particularly those linked to magic, healing, or fertility cults, speaks to a sophisticated, albeit often shrouded, understanding of botanical properties and their potential for both benefit and harm. The Egyptians weren't afraid to explore the edges of human experience, and the mandrake, with its dual nature, provided a powerful tool for that exploration. You step away from the mandrake, you carry with you a sense of its compelling mystery. It's a plant that challenges neat categorizations, straddling the line between food, medicine, poison, and magic. Its human-like roots, its intoxicating fruits, and its dangerous potency ensured its place in the folklore and practices of ancient Egypt, a testament to a world where the natural and supernatural were inextricably intertwined. It reminds you that even in a highly structured society, there was always room for the wild, the mysterious, and the subtly dangerous. Moving past the intriguing, slightly unsettling mandrake, your journey now brings you to a flower whose beauty, though simple, held profound significance, especially in the solemn ceremonies surrounding death and rebirth. The cornflower, Centaurea cyanus. You might know it by its vivid blue petals, a common sight in European fields today, but its presence in ancient Egypt, particularly within royal tombs, tells a story of enduring beauty and symbolic resonance, linking the living world to the eternal one. Imagine a scene of meticulous preparation for the afterlife. The air is dry and still, perhaps within the workshop of embalmers or artisans crafting funerary offerings. Among the various items, you see delicate wreaths and garlands being fashioned, and nestled within them, like tiny sapphires, are the vibrant blue petals of the cornflower. This isn't a grand, showy flower that dominates the landscape. It's a humble, unassuming bloom, yet its striking color and resilience made it a treasured addition to funerary adornments. You can almost feel the dry, papery texture of its petals as they are carefully arranged. The most famous instance of the cornflower's use comes from the tomb of Tutankhamun. When Howard Carter opened the boy king's sarcophagus in 1922, among the incredible gold and jewels, he found remarkably preserved wreaths placed around the inner coffin. These garlands, placed there over 3 millennia ago, still contained the unmistakable blue of cornflower petals, intertwined with olive leaves and other floral elements. It was a poignant reminder of the human touch, of a final, beautiful gesture, made by the living for the departed, a delicate thread connecting their world to ours across vast expanses of time. It's a bit like finding a perfectly preserved wedding bouquet from your great-great-great-grandparents. Mind-boggling, isn't it? So, Why the cornflower? Its vibrant blue color held deep significance for the Egyptians. Blue was the color of the heavens, of the Nile, and of the primordial waters from which all life emerged. It was associated with creation, divinity, and the life-giving forces of the universe. By incorporating blue flowers into funerary wreaths, the Egyptians were symbolically linking the deceased to these cosmic forces, ensuring their journey through the afterlife would be guided by divine protection and lead to ultimate rebirth. You can almost feel the cool, calming essence of the blue, a color of profound peace. Beyond its color, the cornflower's relative robustness, even when dried, made it suitable for the long process of mummification and entombment. While other, more delicate flowers might have withered quickly, the cornflower maintained its color and form remarkably well, a testament to its enduring nature. This quality would have been valued by a people so focused on permanence and the preservation of form for eternity. The cornflower wasn't a primary food source or a potent medicine, like some other plants we've discussed. Its role was primarily symbolic and aesthetic, particularly in the context of ritual and ceremony. It was a beautiful adornment, a natural jewel used to honor the dead and to invoke spiritual principles. You wouldn't typically find vast fields of cornflowers cultivated for everyday use, but rather smaller patches grown specifically for their ceremonial value. This suggests a dedicated effort to cultivate certain plants purely for their sacred meaning. Historians still argue whether the selection of specific flowers for funerary wreaths was purely symbolic, or if there was a belief in some inherent magical property contained within their pigments. While Tutankhamun's tomb provides the most compelling evidence, depictions of flower garlands and offerings in other tombs and temple reliefs suggest that the use of fresh flowers, including those with vibrant blue hues, was common in funerary rituals for the elite. These floral offerings were a way to provide pleasant scents for the deceased, to honor them, and to symbolically connect them with the cyclical processes of nature, mirroring the desired rebirth in the afterlife. You can almost smell the faint, sweet scent of dried flowers, a ghostly perfume from ancient rites. The cornflower's common name in ancient Egyptian, though not definitively known, would likely have reflected its color or its association with fields. It was a wild plant that became domesticated and integrated into their highly structured symbolic language. Its journey from a humble field flower to a sacred component of royal burials highlights how seemingly ordinary elements of nature could attain extraordinary spiritual significance in the Egyptian worldview. It's a testament to their keen eye for symbolism in every aspect of their natural world. It's also worth noting the contrast between the cornflower and other more prominent garden plants. While trees like the persea and date palm offered shade and sustenance, and the lotus embodied grand cosmic principles, the cornflower provided a subtle yet powerful visual cue. It added a splash of color, a delicate touch of beauty to the somber preparations for eternity. Its quiet dignity made it perfect for bridging the gap between the vibrancy of life and the stillness of death. The careful preservation of flowers, like the cornflower in tombs, also gives us a unique glimpse into the actual flora available in ancient Egypt. While textual records and artistic depictions are invaluable, the physical presence of these blooms in burial contexts provides undeniable archaeological evidence of the plants they cultivated and cherished. It's a direct connection, a botanical handshake across millennia. As you consider the simple cornflower, imagine the hands that carefully plucked its petals, the artistry that arranged them into garlands, and the profound love and hope that imbued each floral offering. It wasn't about extravagant displays, but about meaningful gestures, about weaving the beauty of the earthly world into the promise of the eternal. The cornflower, with its steadfast blue, became a beacon of rebirth, a tiny, vibrant promise of life beyond the veil. Its quiet legacy whispers a timeless message of hope from the heart of ancient Egypt, leaving the delicate blue of the cornflower, which so poignantly bridged life and death. Your journey through ancient Egyptian gardens now leads you to a plant with a far more potent and ambiguous reputation, the poppy, papyrus omniferum. You've probably heard of its powerful properties, often associated with sleep, dreams, and pain relief. In ancient Egypt, the poppy was clearly recognized for these effects, making it a plant of both immense practical value and deep spiritual significance. Though its precise ritualistic use remains a fascinating subject of debate. Imagine a garden, perhaps part of a temple dedicated to healing, or a private plot of a skilled physician. Among other plants, you see clusters of poppies, their distinctive large, often fragile petals ranging from white to pink and purple, swaying gently in the breeze. After the petals fall, the green seed capsules, shaped like inverted urns, stand erect, waiting to be scored. It's from these capsules, or even the dried sap, that the potent opium is derived. You might feel a slight, heavy calm in the air, almost as if the very atmosphere is imbued with its somnolent properties. The Egyptians were undoubtedly aware of the poppy's powerful effects. Evidence suggests its use as far back as the New Kingdom, perhaps even earlier. They were masters of herbal medicine, and a plant that could alleviate pain, induce sleep, and bring about altered states of consciousness would have been invaluable. You can almost picture an ancient physician carefully preparing a poppy extract to soothe a patient racked with pain or to help someone suffering from insomnia. It was the ultimate ancient analgesic, a gift of profound relief. One can only imagine the sigh of contentment from someone finally freed from suffering, thanks to this seemingly magical plant. Beyond its medicinal applications, the poppy also held significant symbolic meaning related to sleep, dreams, and the afterlife. In some tomb depictions, poppies appear alongside other plants associated with regeneration and rebirth. Sleep was often viewed as a temporary death, a journey into another realm, and dreams were seen as messages from the gods or glimpses into the future. The poppy, by inducing these states, could have been seen as a facilitator for these mystical experiences, a bridge between the waking world and the divine. Historians still argue whether the poppy's primary use was strictly medicinal or if its psychoactive properties were actively used in religious rituals to induce visionary states. The opium poppy contains a range of alkaloids, most notably morphine and codeine, which are powerful depressants of the central nervous system. The Egyptians would not have understood the chemical mechanisms, but they certainly understood the effects. The characteristic way they would have harvested opium involved scoring the unripe seed capsules in the evening, allowing the milky latex to ooze out overnight. This sap would then be collected and dried into opium. This process requires knowledge and care, suggesting deliberate cultivation and management of the plant. You can almost see the sticky residue on the fingers of an ancient harvester. The presence of poppy seeds and capsules in archaeological contexts, including tombs and settlements, confirms its cultivation and use. While the direct consumption of crude opium might have occurred, it's more likely that it was prepared in various forms, such as infusions, tinctures, or mixed with honey or wine to moderate its potency. This careful preparation highlights their empirical understanding of dosage and effect, a rudimentary pharmacology practiced thousands of years ago. It's quite impressive, really, given the lack of scientific instruments they had. Poppies are sometimes found depicted in funerary wreaths, similar to the cornflower, although perhaps less frequently and with different connotations. While the cornflower symbolized rebirth, the poppy might have suggested a peaceful repose, a dreamlike journey into the afterlife, or even a symbolic death before rebirth. Its presence could have offered comfort to the bereaved, implying a gentle transition for the deceased. You can almost hear the soft, final sigh associated with a restful departure. The cultivation of poppies would have been relatively straightforward in the fertile Nile Valley, requiring good drainage and plenty of sun. However, given its potent nature, access to and management of poppy fields might have been controlled, perhaps by state or temple authorities, to regulate its use. It wasn't a plant for every backyard, but rather a specialized crop with significant value and potential for misuse. This control would reflect a societal awareness of its power. Interestingly, despite its potent effects, the poppy doesn't appear as prominently in general religious iconography as the lotus or certain trees. Its sacred associations seem to be more tied to specific practices or deities linked to healing and sleep, like the goddess Renenutet, who was sometimes associated with medicine, or perhaps even Osiris in his role as ruler of the underworld, a place of eternal sleep. This subtle presence suggests a respect for its power, perhaps even a slight apprehension rather than widespread, overt veneration. It's like the quiet, powerful person in the room everyone knows about but doesn't necessarily openly praise. The discovery of poppy remains and the prevalence of its artistic representation offer a glimpse into the ancient Egyptians' sophisticated understanding of plants and their properties. They didn't shy away from plants with dual natures. Instead, they learned to harness their power, whether for healing, spiritual exploration, or even just for a good night's rest. The poppy stands as a testament to their deep knowledge of pharmacology, developed through centuries of careful observation and experimentation. As you consider the poppy swaying gently in an ancient garden, you sense its quiet power. It offers a paradox, the gentle beauty of its petals concealing the potent sedative within. It speaks of human vulnerability, the universal need for relief from pain, and the enduring human desire to explore the boundaries of consciousness. The poppy, whether soothing a fevered brow or guiding a soul to the land of dreams, remains a powerful symbol of the ancient world's mastery over nature's profound remedies. Its legacy still echoes in medicine today, a reminder of the roots of pharmacology, shifting from the potent, dream-inducing poppy. Your journey through the verdant past of ancient Egyptian gardens now brings you to a tree that was not only omnipresent, but absolutely fundamental to survival and daily life. The date palm phoenix dactylift. You can't imagine ancient Egypt without it, can you? It's the iconic silhouette against the desert sunset, a symbol of perseverance, abundance, and life itself in an otherwise unforgiving landscape. Its sheer importance transcends mere botany. It's practically interwoven with the very DNA of their civilization. Imagine standing in a quintessential ancient Egyptian garden, whether a modest household plot or a grand estate. Tall, slender date palms dominate the skyline, their rough, segmented trunks soaring upwards, topped by a magnificent crown of feathery, arching fronds. Underneath, a welcome patch of dappled shade dances on the ground, a cool respite from the relentless sun. The air is warm, dry, and carries a subtle, sweet scent, hinting at the ripening fruit hanging in heavy clusters amongst the fronds. You can almost feel the dry, textured bark beneath your fingertips and the gentle sway of the fronds high above. The date palm was quite simply a pillar of the Egyptian diet. Its fruit, the date, was an unparalleled source of energy and nutrition. Sweet, easily dried and stored, and incredibly versatile, dates provided a vital source of calories, sugars, and fiber. You'd see them everywhere, being eaten fresh off the tree, dried and packed for long journeys, or pressed into cakes for a quick energy boost. It was a staple, consumed by everyone from the lowliest farmer to the grandest pharaoh. Imagine the relief of finding a cluster of ripe dates after a long, hot day of work in the fields. It was nature's perfect energy bar, available year-round. But the date palm offered far more than just its delicious fruit. Every single part of the tree was utilized, making it an extraordinary example of sustainable living. Its sturdy wood was used for construction, though often limited to smaller beams or rafters due to its fibrous nature. You'd see it in the frames of simple houses or supporting the roofs of granaries. The strong, durable fronds were woven into an endless array of useful items: mats for sleeping, baskets for carrying goods, sandals for walking on hot sand, and even rudimentary fences. You can almost hear the rhythmic rustle and snap of fronds being expertly woven into a useful tool. The date palm's fibrous trunk could also be used to create ropes, strong enough for mooring boats or drawing water from wells. The pits of the dates, far from being discarded, were sometimes ground down and used as animal fodder, ensuring no part of this miraculous tree went to waste. It's a prime example of ancient Egyptian ingenuity, getting every last bit of value out of their natural resources. They probably thought our modern habit of throwing away fruit pits was just utterly baffling. Beyond the practical, the date palm held significant symbolic meaning. Its tall, upright stature and its ability to thrive in harsh conditions made it a symbol of perseverance, victory, and long life. You might see its image adorning tomb walls, representing enduring vitality in the afterlife. The very act of the tree continually bearing fruit, year after year, for decades, mirrored the Egyptians' belief in cyclical renewal and eternal existence. Historians still argue whether the date palm's widespread cultivation was purely for sustenance, or if its symbolic power also played a significant role in its prominence across the landscape. In terms of garden design, date palms provided essential shade, creating cooler microclimates where other, more delicate plants could thrive. You'd find them strategically planted to offer maximum relief from the sun, making gardens genuinely habitable and enjoyable spaces. Imagine a royal garden where the pharaoh might recline under the cool canopy of a date palm, enjoying the gentle breeze and the sweet scent of nearby flowers. These trees created the very conditions that allowed lush gardens to exist in the desert. The cultivation of date palms was a long-term investment. They take several years to mature and bear fruit, requiring foresight and dedication from the ancient gardeners. You'd observe meticulous irrigation, with water channeled directly to the base of each tree, ensuring it received enough moisture to thrive. Pollination was also sometimes assisted by hand, a sophisticated understanding of plant reproduction ensuring a bountiful harvest. It was a commitment across generations, a legacy passed down through families. The date palm also played a role in social stratification. While dates were consumed by all, owning a thriving grove of date palms would have been a mark of significant wealth and status. It represented a secure food supply, a source of valuable materials, and a tangible asset. that could be passed down. You can imagine the pride of a landowner surveying his healthy, productive date palm grove, a symbol of his prosperity and foresight. The year of the date palm was also a concept that occasionally appears, used informally as a way to refer to the passage of time, as the date palm often marks a year with a new ring of frond bases. This casual reference underscores its deep integration into their rhythm of life. It's like saying back in the year when the big oak flowered particularly well, as you gaze at the date palms swaying gently in the ancient Egyptian breeze, you feel their enduring spirit. They represent the quiet resilience of a people who learned to coax life from the unyielding desert, transforming it into abundance. The date palm was not merely a plant. It was a partner in survival, a constant provider, and a symbol of hope and continuity. Its rustling fronds whisper tales of ancient feasts, long journeys, and the unwavering spirit of a civilization deeply connected to the land. You realize that even in this ancient world, there was a profound appreciation for the simple, life-sustaining gifts of nature. Moving from the towering, life-sustaining date palm, your imaginary stroll through ancient Egyptian gardens now brings you to another fundamental fruit tree, one deeply intertwined with sustenance, symbolism, and even divine patronage, the fig tree, Ficus sycamorus and Ficus. While the common fig is familiar, the sycamore fig was perhaps even more significant in ancient Egypt, a true marvel of cultivation and spiritual importance. Imagine stepping into a bustling courtyard garden, perhaps within a private estate or a temple dedicated to the goddess Hathor. Here, amidst the geometric order, you notice a large, sprawling tree with dense, shady foliage, often bearing fruit directly on its trunk and older branches. This is the sycamore fig, not the towering, slender form of the date palm, but a broad, welcoming presence. Its fruit, smaller and sweeter than the common fig, grows in clusters, offering a continuous bounty. You can almost feel the smooth, leathery texture of its leaves and the sticky sweetness of a ripe fig in your hand. The fig, especially the sycamore fig, was an absolutely crucial food source for the ancient Egyptians. It provided a readily available, nutritious fruit that could be eaten fresh or dried for long-term storage, much like dates. Dried figs were a staple for travelers, laborers, and soldiers, offering concentrated energy in a portable form. You'd see them everywhere, from the humblest snack to offerings laid before deities. It was a sweet, satisfying, and deeply nourishing part of their diet. Imagine the simple joy of biting into a plump, ripe fig, its sweetness bursting on your tongue after a long day under the hot sun. But the fig tree's importance transcended mere nutrition. It held profound religious and funerary significance, particularly the sycamore fig. It was intimately associated with the goddess Hathor, often called the mistress of the sycamore. Hathor, in her benevolent aspect, was believed to reside within the branches of the sycamore fig, offering sustenance and comfort to the deceased in the afterlife. You'd often see tomb paintings depicting the deceased receiving water or figs from the sycamore goddess, emerging from the tree itself. This imagery was incredibly comforting, symbolizing the continued nourishment and care provided by the divine in the eternal realm. It's like a cosmic rest stop, where the goddess herself hands you a refreshing drink and a snack for your journey. This association made the sycamore fig a prominent feature in funerary gardens and near tombs. Its shade was seen as a protective canopy, offering respite for the soul. The very act of planting a fig tree near a tomb was a gesture of providing eternal sustenance and divine connection for the deceased. You can almost feel the quiet reverence surrounding these trees, standing sentinel over the transition from one life to the next. Beyond its religious roles, the sycamore fig provided excellent shade, a precious commodity in the Egyptian climate. Its broad canopy created inviting cool spots where people could relax, escape the sun, and enjoy the pleasures of the garden. Gardens designed with these trees became true oases, central to social life and leisure. Imagine a family gathering under a large sycamore fig, sharing a meal, children playing in the dappled light, the gentle hum of insects filling the air. The cultivation of the sycamore fig was a significant horticultural achievement. Unlike many trees, the sycamore fig requires caprification, a process of hand pollination or specific insect activity for its fruit to ripen properly. The Egyptians mastered this, likely through techniques like scratching the fruit or introducing specific fig wasps, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of plant biology long before modern botany. This ensured a continuous and bountiful harvest. You can almost see the skilled gardeners meticulously working with the fruits, ensuring their delicious bounty. Historians still argue whether the caprification process was understood as a biological necessity or viewed as a ritualistic act that invoked the tree's fertility. The wood of the fig tree, particularly the sycamore fig, was also valuable. While not as hard as acacia, it was relatively soft and durable, making it suitable for various purposes, including coffins and furniture. The famous boat of eternity found in Tutankhamun's tomb, intended for his journey in the afterlife, was made of sycamore fig wood. This further solidified its connection to the funerary realm and the eternal voyage. It's a testament to its versatility, providing both life-giving fruit and the very vessel for eternal rest. Common figs, ficus, carica, were also cultivated, offering a slightly different flavor profile and perhaps being more common in domestic gardens. These would have been easier to grow without the specific caprification rituals. The variety offered by both types ensured a consistent supply of this beloved fruit. The fig tree also finds its way into various proverbs and folklore, often symbolizing abundance, generosity, and home. A common phrase might refer to resting under one's own fig tree, signifying peace and prosperity. This deep cultural integration underscores its omnipresence and importance in the Egyptian psyche. It was more than just a plant. It was a part of their identity. As you step away from the comforting shade of the fig tree, you carry with you the sweet memory of its fruit and the profound symbolism of its presence. It represents the ancient Egyptians' remarkable ability to cultivate abundanza, to integrate the practical with the sacred, and to find comfort and connection to the divine in the natural world around them. The fig tree, especially the sycamore, stands as a verdant monument to their enduring quest for sustenance, protection, and eternal life, a silent, leafy guardian in the gardens of the past. Stepping away from the sweet, life-giving fig, your senses are now drawn to the rich, complex aromas that would have permeated the air of ancient Egyptian temples and elite homes. This shift brings us to two incredibly valuable and symbolically potent substances, myrrh and frankincense. While not flowers or fruits in the traditional sense, these aromatic resins were derived from trees and played such a crucial role in Egyptian religious, medicinal, and cosmetic practices that their cultivation, or at least their acquisition and use, profoundly shaped the botanical landscape and economy. Imagine entering the dimly lit interior of a grand temple, perhaps during a morning ritual. The air is thick, almost palpable, with a warm, woody, slightly sweet, and utterly intoxicating scent. Wisps of smoke curl upwards from censers, carrying the essence of what you know to be myrrh and frankincense. These resins weren't just pleasant smells. They were considered divine emanations, the very breath of the gods, essential for purification, prayer, and communication with the spiritual realm. You can almost feel the rich, heavy perfume settling on your clothes, clinging to your hair. Frankincense, from trees of the Boswellia genus, and myrrh, from trees of the Commiphora genus, are both aromatic resins, harvested by making incisions in the bark of their respective trees, allowing the milky sap to exude and harden into tear-shaped tears, or pearls. These trees are native to arid regions of the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa, particularly areas like Punt, often identified with modern-day Eritrea, Somalia, a land highly prized by the Egyptians for its exotic goods. You might picture Queen Hatshepsut's famous expedition to Punt, specifically seeking these very trees to bring back and cultivate in Egypt. While the trees themselves did not grow natively in the Nile Valley, the Egyptians made significant efforts to cultivate them in temple gardens, particularly during the New Kingdom. Imagine carefully tended terraces within a temple precinct where small, gnarly frankincense or myrrh saplings were painstakingly nurtured, their precious resins harvested with meticulous care. This was a challenging horticultural feat, requiring the replication of their native arid conditions and precise irrigation. It was a clear demonstration of Egypt's power and its desire to control the source of these sacred commodities. Historians still argue whether the scale of frankincense and myrrh cultivation in Egypt was ever sufficient to meet demand, or if significant imports were always necessary. The primary use of both resins was as incense. You'd see it burned daily in temples to purify the sacred space, to honor the gods, and to carry prayers aloft. The smoke was believed to ascend to the heavens, forming a direct line of communication with the divine. Pharaohs and high priests would lead these ceremonies, the air thick with sacred smoke. It was also burned in homes, especially those of the wealthy, for its pleasant scent and believed purifying properties. It was, in essence, the ancient world's most luxurious air freshener, with a side of spiritual elevation. One might quip that ancient Egyptian interior design was 90% incense, 10% everything else. Beyond incense, these resins were vital components in perfumery and cosmetics. They were ground into powders, mixed with oils like moringa oil, remember that one? And animal fats to create highly prized unguents, bombs, and kohl. Myrrh, with its slightly bitter, warmer scent, and frankincense, with its brighter, piney notes, were blended to create complex and long-lasting fragrances worn by both men and women. Imagine the subtle, alluring scent emanating from a noblewoman's wig. A blend of these precious resins. In medicine, both myrrh and frankincense possessed antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties that were well recognized. Myrrh in particular was used as an astringent and a wound dressing. You might see a physician applying a myrrh-based balm to an infection or using it as a mouthwash for oral hygiene. Frankincense was also thought to aid respiratory issues when inhaled as smoke. They were natural pharmacies in resin form, their healing powers understood through centuries of empirical use. Perhaps most famously, myrrh played a crucial role in mummification. Its potent antiseptic qualities and its strong, pleasant scent made it invaluable for preserving the body and masking the odors associated with the process. You'd imagine the embalmers working, surrounded by the scent of myrrh, ensuring the deceased was perfectly prepared for their journey to the afterlife. It was a practical necessity and a symbolic anointing, purifying the body for eternity. The use of these resins underscored the Egyptians' holistic approach to death, viewing it as a continuation, not an end. The acquisition of myrrh and frankincense was a significant economic and diplomatic undertaking. Expeditions to Punt, often depicted in vibrant reliefs, were undertaken specifically to secure these valuable resins, along with other exotic goods. The presence of these trees, even if small and painstakingly cultivated in Egyptian temple gardens, symbolized the pharaoh's power and their successful ventures into distant lands. It was a tangible trophy, a piece of exotic luxury brought home. Their continued importance is evident in their longevity. Myrrh and frankincense continued to be highly valued throughout antiquity, becoming part of the offerings brought to the infant Jesus in later traditions, a testament to their enduring sacred and economic significance. Their powerful symbolism transcended cultures and millennia. As you consider the wafting smoke and rich aromas of myrrh and frankincense, you understand that these were more than just pleasant smells. They were central to the religious life, personal hygiene, and funerary rituals of ancient Egypt. Their presence in or near the gardens, whether cultivated or simply processed there, highlights the Egyptians' relentless pursuit of resources that connected them to the divine, preserved their dead, and enhanced their daily lives. They were, in essence, the scent of ancient spirituality, forever lingering in the air, having been enveloped by the sacred and profound sense of myrrh and frankincense. Your journey through the vibrant tapestry of ancient Egyptian gardens now brings you back to the more delicate, yet equally significant, world of blooming flowers. Here we encounter the lily, a family of elegant blooms whose various species graced Egyptian gardens, symbolizing purity, beauty, and the transient, yet cyclical, nature of life itself. Imagine stepping into a formal garden space, perhaps within a high-status private residence or an area reserved for ritual purity near a temple. Here, among carefully manicured beds and reflecting pools, you see graceful lilies standing tall, their elegant stems topped with exquisite, often trumpet-shaped or star-shaped flowers. Their colors might range from pristine white to soft pinks and yellows, each bloom a testament to delicate beauty. The air carries a subtle, sweet perfume, less intoxicating than the lotus, but equally alluring. You can almost feel the smooth, waxy texture of their petals. While the lily can be a broad term, ancient Egypt likely cultivated several species. The Madonna lily, Lilium candidum, with its pure white fragrant blooms, is a strong candidate, often associated with purity and divinity in various ancient cultures. Another possibility is the true Egyptian lily crinum album, a beautiful white-flowered plant that grows well in marshy areas. Similar to the lotus, but with a distinct, more upright form, regardless of the precise species. Their presence speaks to a deliberate choice for aesthetic and symbolic reasons. The lily, particularly the white varieties, was a powerful symbol of purity, innocence, and rebirth. You'd often see lilies depicted in funerary contexts, similar to the lotus, symbolizing the deceased's purification and their successful transition to the afterlife. They might be held by deities or the deceased, signifying their cleansed state. The fleeting beauty of their blooms, appearing for a season and then fading, perfectly mirrored the cycle of life and death, reinforcing the Egyptian belief in renewal. Imagine a lily unfurling its pristine white petals, a silent prayer for the soul's clean passage in art. The lily often appears in bouquets and garlands, adorning banquets, offerings to the gods, and funerary rituals. Its elegant form made it a popular choice for decorative purposes, adding a touch of sophistication and natural beauty to various ceremonies. You might see a priestess offering a bouquet of freshly cut lilies to a temple statue, the fragrant blooms a tangible act of devotion. It was also used in elaborate wreaths, sometimes alongside cornflowers and olive leaves, creating intricate floral adornments for the deceased. While the lotus generally held primary symbolic importance for creation and rebirth directly from the primordial waters, the lily offered a slightly different nuance. It often represented the ephemeral nature of earthly beauty and life, yet also the promise of renewal. Its growth from a bulb hidden beneath the earth and its subsequent blossoming could be seen as a metaphor for resurrection. Historians still argue whether specific lily species held distinct symbolic meanings, or if the general lily concept encompassed a broader range of beautiful, pure-looking flowers. The cultivation of lilies in ancient Egyptian gardens would have required specific conditions. Many lily species prefer well-drained soil, but some, like the crinum lily, thrive in more moist environments. Gardeners would have meticulously managed their plots, ensuring the bulbs received adequate water and sunlight. You can almost see the care taken to nurture these delicate yet resilient plants, their beauty a reward for the gardener's efforts. They weren't just tossed into the ground. They were carefully placed and tended. Lilies were also likely used in perfumes and unguents, though perhaps less prominently than lotus or myrrh. Their subtle, sweet fragrance would have been prized, extracted through maceration in oils to create delicate scented bombs. Imagine a gentle perfume infused with lily essence, worn by the elite. Its quiet elegance, a contrast to more overt fragrances, beyond their symbolic and aesthetic value. There's limited evidence to suggest widespread medicinal or culinary use of lilies in ancient Egypt, unlike some other plants we've discussed. Their value lay primarily in their beauty and their powerful spiritual associations. This highlights that not every plant in an ancient garden needed to be utilitarian. Some were cultivated purely for their cultural and religious significance, for the joy and meaning they brought. It's a reminder that even ancient, pragmatic societies appreciated pure aesthetics and spiritual resonance. It's like us planting a rose bush today purely for its beauty and scent, rather than expecting it to cure a headache. The appearance of lilies in Egyptian art provides valuable insight into the flora they encountered and valued. Their distinct form, often stylized but clearly recognizable, allows us to identify their presence in a variety of contexts, from tomb walls to decorative objects. These artistic representations serve as a botanical record, preserving the memory of these ancient blooms. As you reflect on the lily, with its graceful form and pure colors, you sense its quiet dignity in the ancient Egyptian garden. It reminds us that beauty, even transient beauty, held deep meaning for this civilization. The lily, emerging from the earth with pristine grace, offered a visual sermon on purity and the eternal promise of renewal. Its delicate petals whisper stories of ancient rites, of quiet contemplation, and of the enduring human fascination with life's cycles, all captured in a single, elegant bloom. Having admired the elegant purity of the lily, your imagined journey through ancient Egyptian gardens now takes a delightful turn, leading you to a cultivated landscape dedicated not just to beauty, but to pleasure and indulgence. The vineyards. You might associate vineyards more with Roman or Greek antiquity, but the Egyptians were cultivating grapes and producing wine millennia before, transforming the fertile Nile Valley into a source of one of humanity's oldest fermented beverages. Imagine stepping into a sprawling, meticulously maintained vineyard within a grand estate or a temple complex. Perhaps in the Nile Delta, where conditions were particularly favorable. Rows of grapevines, Vitis vinifera, stretch out before you, their broad, lobed leaves forming a dense canopy supported by trellises or pergolas. Heavy clusters of grapes, probably dark purple or reddish, given archaeological evidence, hang, ripe and glistening in the sun, filling the air with a sweet, earthy aroma. You can almost feel the warm sun on your skin, hear the gentle buzz of bees, and envision the anticipation of the harvest. Wine was not just a drink in ancient Egypt. It was a status symbol, a ritualistic offering, and a source of joy. While beer was the ubiquitous drink of the common people, wine was primarily consumed by the elite, the pharaoh, and priests. It was a luxury, a mark of sophistication, and its presence at banquets and feasts underscored the host's wealth and refined taste. You'd see scenes of elaborate banquets depicted on tomb walls, showing guests enjoying cups of wine, often with a lotus blossom held to their nose, and sometimes even getting a bit tipsy, a delightful human touch in these ancient depictions. One might even joke that ancient Egyptian parties featured more oops, I spilled my wine moments than we'd imagine. The cultivation of grapevines, or viticulture, was a highly developed art in ancient Egypt. Unlike other fruit trees, grapevines often required extensive support structures. You'd see sophisticated trellises, pergolas, and arbors often depicted in tomb paintings, designed to elevate the grapes off the ground, protect them from pests, and allow for better air circulation and sunlight exposure. These structures weren't just practical. They created beautiful, shaded walkways and pleasant outdoor rooms within the gardens, inviting leisurely strolls and quiet contemplation. Imagine the cool shade provided by a grape arbor on a hot afternoon, the dappled light filtering through the leaves. The process of winemaking was equally meticulous. You'd observe the grape harvest, a communal activity with workers carefully plucking the ripe clusters. Then, the grapes would be placed in large vats and trodden by foot, a messy but effective way to extract the juice. The resulting must would then be transferred to large ceramic amphorae or wine jars, where it would ferment. These jars were often sealed and labeled with the vintage, the vineyard, the quality, and sometimes even the chief vintner's name, remarkably similar to modern wine labeling. This attention to detail highlights the professionalization of wine production. Historians still argue whether different regions of Egypt developed distinct terroirs for their wines, akin to modern wine regions, or if the variations were primarily due to grape variety and production methods. Wine was indispensable. In religious ceremonies and offerings, it was considered a sacred drink offered to the gods to secure their favor and to commemorate important rituals. You'd see depictions of pharaohs pouring libations of wine before deities, a tangible expression of reverence and devotion. Its presence in funerary offerings also symbolized sustenance and luxury for the deceased in the afterlife, ensuring they continued to enjoy the finest things in their eternal existence. It was believed to facilitate the soul's journey and provide endless celebration. The existence of dedicated vineyards, distinct from general agricultural plots, tells us much about the sophistication of Egyptian agriculture and their ability to specialize. These weren't just small patches. Some were extensive operations, suggesting a significant investment of labor, land, and capital. The wealth derived from wine production would have been substantial, contributing to the economy of the estates and temples that owned them. While most evidence points to red wine production, due to the color of grape remains and visual depictions, some scholars suggest the possibility of white wine as well. The varying quality levels, from everyday consumption to high-grade Pharaoh's wine, indicate a nuanced appreciation for different vintages and production methods. It's a reminder that even ancient palates had preferences and discerning tastes. The vineyard, beyond its economic and ritualistic importance, contributed significantly to the aesthetic and sensory experience of ancient Egyptian gardens. The sight of lush vines, the sweet scent of ripening grapes, and the eventual pleasure of enjoying the finished product all contributed to a multi-sensory environment. It was a place where nature's bounty was harnessed for both sustenance and pure delight. You can almost taste the rich, fruity flavor of ancient Egyptian wine, imagining its effect on those who perto as you conclude your imaginary visit to the ancient Egyptian vineyard. You carry with you the rich aroma of ripening grapes and the echoes of ancient feasts. The vineyard represents not just agricultural prowess, but a deep appreciation for the finer things in life, a blending of the utilitarian with the luxurious. It's a testament to a civilization that, amidst its monumental achievements, also understood the simple pleasures of good food, good drink, and beautiful, productive gardens. The ancient Egyptian vineyard was truly a place where life was celebrated, both in this world and the next. From the sun-drenched vineyards, where the promise of ancient vintages hung heavy in the air, your journey through forgotten Egyptian gardens now takes you to a fruit bursting with vibrancy and potent symbolism, the pomegranate punica. While perhaps not as ubiquitous as the date or fig, the pomegranate held a special place in the Egyptian consciousness, symbolizing fertility, abundance, and the cyclical nature of life and death. Imagine stepping into a well-ordered orchard within a larger garden, perhaps belonging to a wealthy noble or even a temple. Here, amidst other fruit trees, you encounter a small, bushy tree or shrub, its branches laden with round, crimson fruits, their skin gleaming in the sunlight. These are pomegranates, and their distinctive appearance, with the crown-like calyx at one end, makes them instantly recognizable. You can almost feel the smooth, taut skin of a ripe pomegranate under your fingers, anticipating the burst of sweet tart juice within. The pomegranate was undoubtedly valued for its delicious and nutritious fruit. Its juicy, ruby-red arils, the edible seed pulp, offered a refreshing and sweet tart flavor, perfect for quenching thirst in the hot Egyptian climate. It could be eaten fresh, its juice extracted for drinks, or its seeds dried and used in various culinary preparations. While not a primary staple like dates or figs, it was a prized delicacy, adding variety and richness to the diet of those who could afford it. Imagine the delightful burst of flavor as you bite into a cluster of arils, a refreshing counterpoint to the dry air. However, the pomegranate's significance extended far beyond its taste. It was a powerful symbol of fertility, regeneration, and abundance. This symbolism likely stemmed from the fruit's internal structure. When you cut open a pomegranate, you discover hundreds of jewel-like seeds tightly packed together. This visual abundance made it a natural emblem of life, proliferation, and the potential for new beginnings. You'd often see pomegranates depicted in tomb paintings, particularly in scenes related to the deceased's eternal nourishment and rebirth, ensuring their fertility in the afterlife. It was a quiet promise of endless progeny and prosperity. The pomegranate was also associated with various deities, though perhaps not as exclusively as the lotus with Ra, or the sycamore with half. Its imagery appears in contexts related to fertility gods and goddesses, underscoring its general connection to life-giving forces. Its inclusion in offerings to the gods further cemented its sacred status. It's like bringing a bouquet of flowers that subtly says, "May your blessings be as numerous as these seeds." Archaeological findings, including actual pomegranate remains in tombs like those found in Tutankhamun's tomb, confirm its presence and value. These real-life artifacts give us a tangible link to the ancient use of this fruit beyond just artistic depictions. You can almost touch the dried remnants, still holding a faint echo of their ancient sweetness. Beyond its fruit, parts of the pomegranate tree had practical uses. The peel of the pomegranate, rich in tannins, was used in ancient Egypt for dyeing textiles, producing a yellowish-brown color, and also in leather tanning. This demonstrates a resourceful approach, utilizing even the seemingly inedible parts of the plant. It's a reminder that nothing went to waste if it could serve a purpose, even a discarded fruit peel. Historians still argue whether the medicinal uses of the pomegranate, such as its anti-parasitic properties from tannins in the bark and rind, were widely recognized and exploited by ancient Egyptian physicians. In garden design, pomegranate trees, while not as grand as sycamores, would have provided a splash of vibrant color with their fruit and attractive, sometimes thorny, foliage. They would have been carefully cultivated, requiring consistent watering and pruning to ensure a good yield. You might see gardeners meticulously tending to these trees, ensuring each fruit ripened perfectly under the Egyptian sun. Their relatively compact size would have made them suitable for smaller garden plots as well as larger estates. The pomegranate also appears in jewelry and amulets, often stylized to capture its distinctive shape and symbolic meaning. These items would have been worn as protective charms or as symbols of fertility and good fortune. Imagine a young woman wearing a delicate pomegranate pendant, hoping to bless her with many children. The contrast between the pomegranate's hard, protective outer rind and its soft, succulent interior full of seeds also makes it a metaphor for protection and concealed abundance. It's a paradox in a fruit, and the Egyptians, masters of symbolism, would not have missed this nuance. As you reflect on the pomegranate, you appreciate its multifaceted role in ancient Egyptian life. It was a beautiful, delicious fruit, a powerful symbol of life and renewal, and a source of practical materials. Its presence in their gardens, and indeed in their art and beliefs, speaks to a civilization that understood and celebrated the profound interconnectedness of nature, sustenance, and the human desire for continuity and abundance. The pomegranate, with its ruby heart, truly encapsulates the vibrant essence of ancient Egyptian life, leaving the rich symbolism of the pomegranate. Your journey through ancient Egyptian gardens now brings you to another tree whose products were indispensable, providing not only sustenance, but also light and longevity. The olive tree, Alia europea. While not as widespread or iconic as the date palm or fig in Egypt itself, its presence, particularly for its oil, was profoundly significant, connecting Egypt to the wider Mediterranean world. Imagine a garden, perhaps on the edge of the Fayum oasis, or in a region known for its slightly cooler, drier climate. Here, you might find sturdy, ancient-looking olive trees, their gnarled trunks and silvery green leaves providing a distinctive contrast to the more tropical vegetation of the Nile Valley. Their small, unassuming flowers give way to clusters of green, then black olives. The air here feels a little different, perhaps hinting at the robust, earthy scent of the oil derived from their fruit. You can almost feel the rough, corrugated bark of an old olive tree under your hand. The primary value of the olive tree in ancient Egypt, as in much of the ancient world, was its oil. Olive oil was a versatile and precious commodity. It was a source of food, providing fat and calories, though perhaps less consumed as a staple than in later Mediterranean diets. More importantly for the Egyptians, it was a crucial source of light. Imagine the flickering glow of an oil lamp, fueled by olive oil, illuminating a tomb chamber or a domestic interior after sunset. It was their main source of indoor illumination, a constant, gentle light in the darkness. Beyond light, olive oil was extensively used in cosmetics and perfumery. It served as a base for various unguents, salves, and scented oils. You'd see it mixed with fragrant resins like myrrh or frankincense, or infused with flower petals to create luxurious body oils and perfumes. It was used to moisturize skin, protect against the harsh sun, and keep hair healthy. Imagine a noblewoman anointing herself with perfumed olive oil after bathing, her skin soft and glowing. It was the ultimate ancient beauty product, ensuring smooth skin and a pleasant scent. In medicine, olive oil was valued for its emollient and healing properties. It was used as a carrier for medicinal herbs, applied topically to soothe skin irritations, minor wounds, and burns. It also served as a mild laxative and was used for general health and well-being. You might observe a physician carefully measuring out olive oil to blend with other remedies, a staple in their ancient pharmacopoeia. While the olive tree isn't native to the immediate Nile Valley, archaeological evidence suggests its presence and cultivation in ancient Egypt, particularly from the New Kingdom onwards, becoming more common in later periods. Remains of olive wood and olive pits have been found in various sites, including royal tombs, indicating their significant use. This suggests a deliberate effort to introduce and cultivate these trees, likely in areas with more suitable conditions or through careful irrigation. Historians still argue about the exact scale of olive cultivation in ancient Egypt versus the reliance on imports from neighboring regions like the Levant. The olive tree itself held considerable symbolic weight. Its incredible longevity, some olive trees can live for thousands of years, made it a powerful symbol of eternity, resilience, and enduring life. Its ability to thrive in poor soils and dry conditions further underscored its hardiness and steadfastness. You might see its image in contexts associated with long life or eternal well-being, even if not as overtly divine as the lotus or sycamore. Its silvery green foliage, subtly shimmering in the light, often evoked a sense of calm and peace. In funerary contexts, olive branches and oil were sometimes included as offerings, symbolizing continuous nourishment and light for the deceased. In the afterlife, the presence of olive oil lamps would literally light the way through the underworld, a comforting thought for those embarking on their eternal journey. It was a tangible link to continuous existence. The process of oil extraction would have been laborious but essential. Olives would be harvested, often by hand, then crushed, likely using presses or rudimentary mills to extract the precious oil. The liquid would then be separated from the solids and stored in large jars. This process, while seemingly simple, required careful technique to produce high-quality oil. You can almost smell the tangy, earthy scent of freshly pressed olives. The trade in olive oil was also significant. Even if Egypt produced some of its own, it also imported large quantities from its trading partners, highlighting its economic importance. This interconnectedness with other Mediterranean cultures meant that the Egyptians were part of a broader network of olive oil production and consumption. As you consider the olive tree swaying gently in an ancient Egyptian garden, you sense its quiet strength and profound utility. It wasn't about flamboyant beauty, but about providing essential resources for daily life and spiritual transition. The olive tree, with its enduring presence and its life-giving oil, illuminates a crucial aspect of ancient Egyptian civilization, a testament to their ingenuity in harnessing nature's gifts for light, sustenance, and well-being, both in this world and the next. Its silvery leaves whisper tales of ancient lamps and timeless beauty rituals. Stepping away from the enduring strength of the olive tree, your journey through the nuanced world of ancient Egyptian gardens brings you to a flower whose presence is perhaps more debated and elusive, yet incredibly intriguing. The rose, Rosa sp. You might assume the rose, with its universal appeal as a symbol of beauty and love, must have been a prominent feature. However, while some evidence suggests its cultivation, it wasn't the ubiquitous presence that it became in later Roman or Persian gardens, making its role in Egypt a fascinating enigma. Imagine a highly exclusive garden, perhaps a private section within a pharaoh's palace grounds or a temple dedicated to a goddess of love or beauty. Here, among more common blooms, you might catch a glimpse of a familiar, yet somewhat wilder, flower, a rose. Its delicate, layered petals and intoxicating scent would be unmistakable, a touch of refined beauty amidst the general lushness. The colors might vary from soft pinks to deeper reds, a rare splash of vibrant elegance. You can almost feel the velvety texture of its petals and inhale its timeless, romantic perfume. The evidence for the widespread cultivation of roses in ancient Egypt is less conclusive than for, say, the lotus or papyrus. However, there are some tantalizing hints. Archaeological findings have yielded fossilized rose pollen and even some preserved rose petals, notably from funerary wreaths, suggesting their presence. These discoveries, along with artistic depictions that might be roses, though often hard to distinguish definitively from other multi-petaled flowers, indicate that the Egyptians were aware of and likely cultivated roses, at least in certain contexts. Historians still argue whether the Egyptian rose was a native species, an early introduced variety, or if rose was a general term for certain fragrant, multi-petaled flowers. If cultivated, the rose would have been primarily valued for its beauty and its exquisite fragrance. Its intoxicating scent would have been highly prized for perfumes and cosmetic oils. Imagine rose petals steeped in olive or moringa oil, creating a luxurious scented balm for the skin, or incorporated into fragrant cones worn during banquets. These would have been high-status products, accessible only to the wealthy elite. Sheer effort to produce such a concentrate would have made it incredibly valuable. Like liquid gold, the symbolic meaning of the rose in ancient Egypt is less explicit than in later cultures, where it universally represented love and passion. However, given its inherent beauty and fragrance, it's reasonable to infer that it would have been associated with beauty, luxury, and perhaps certain aspects of femininity and divine love, particularly in relation to goddesses like Hathor. Its presence in funerary wreaths could also symbolize love for the deceased or the fleeting nature of earthly beauty. It's a subtle symbol, whispered rather than shouted. The cultivation of roses in the Egyptian climate would have presented certain challenges. While they thrive in warmth, they also require consistent watering and rich soil. Gardeners would have meticulously tended to these prized plants, ensuring they received adequate irrigation and protection from pests. You can almost see the careful pruning, the gentle hand coaxing blooms from thorny stems. It's a labor of love for a truly beloved flower. One of the quirks of identifying the ancient Egyptian rose is the lack of a clear, unambiguous hieroglyph or specific name for it. This contrasts sharply with the lotus, which has distinct representations. This ambiguity might suggest that while present, it wasn't a dominant or culturally pervasive symbol in the same way. It was possibly one of many fragrant flowers appreciated for its individual qualities rather than a broader cultural emblem. It's like having a rare, beautiful orchid in your garden today, admired, but not necessarily a common sight. Despite the debates, the discovery of actual rose remains in archaeological sites, albeit rare, is compelling. For example, some speculate that small wild roses might have existed, or that specific cultivated varieties were brought in through trade. The presence of rose oil in later Roman Egypt is well documented, suggesting that by then its cultivation was more established. This hints at a gradual integration of the rose into the Egyptian horticultural landscape. The rose, with its thorns, also embodies a duality, beauty paired with a protective, almost dangerous aspect. While there's no clear evidence the Egyptians pondered this specific symbolism for the rose, their appreciation for duality in other plants like the mandrake suggests they were certainly capable of such nuanced understanding. As you consider the elusive rose in the ancient Egyptian garden, you sense its quiet allure, a blossom whose story is still being pieced together from fragments of pollen and whispered artistic interpretations. It represents a subtle layer of luxury and aesthetic appreciation, hinting at a world of sophisticated tastes beyond the monumental. The rose, whether a rare native or a prized import, adds a touch of universal beauty to the ancient Egyptian botanical story. A gentle reminder that even across millennia, some flowers simply speak to the soul, moving from the delicate and somewhat mysterious rose. Your journey through the diverse landscape of ancient Egyptian gardens now leads you to a tree whose presence evoked a sense of solemnity, endurance, and a profound connection to the eternal. The cypress cupresses, while perhaps less celebrated for its fruit or flowers, the cypress, with its distinctive upright, almost spire-like form, played a significant role in funerary landscapes and symbolized longevity in the afterlife. Imagine stepping into a serene, almost somber garden space, perhaps bordering a necropolis or within a large temple complex dedicated to the deceased. Here, standing tall and dark against the bright Egyptian sky, are rows of cypress trees, their dense, dark green foliage and slender, columnar shape create a striking vertical element, almost like natural obelisks pointing skyward. The air here feels cooler, stiller, imbued with a quiet reverence. You can almost feel the smooth, almost waxy texture of their needle-like leaves and inhale their subtle, woody, resinous scent. The cypress tree, or at least a tree with a similar appearance and symbolic function, as botanical identification from ancient sources can sometimes be tricky, was associated primarily with death, mourning, and the underworld. Its presence in ancient Egyptian funerary landscapes was highly symbolic. Its evergreen nature, defying the seasonal cycles of decay, made it a powerful emblem of eternity and perpetual life. Just as the cypress remained green throughout the years, so too would the deceased endure in the afterlife. You'd often see them planted near tombs and burial grounds, acting as silent, enduring guardians of the eternal slumber. It was the ultimate long-term resident, always there, always green dot, while the cypress is not definitively native to the immediate Nile Valley. Archaeological evidence and depictions suggest its cultivation, or at least its significant symbolic presence from the New Kingdom onwards. Like the frankincense and myrrh trees, it might have been introduced and cultivated in specific, managed garden settings, or its wood and symbolism were highly valued through trade. The effort to cultivate such a tree underscores its profound importance to their spiritual beliefs. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians explicitly cultivated Cupressus sempervirens, or if other local coniferous trees served a similar symbolic role and were referred to broadly as cypresses. The cypress's tall, pointed form also had symbolic resonance. It seemed to reach towards the heavens, guiding the soul upwards. Its dark foliage contrasted sharply with the vibrant life of other garden plants, emphasizing the boundary between the living world and the realm of the dead. It was a visual marker, a sentinel standing between two worlds. You can almost feel the solemnity it imparted to these sacred spaces, beyond its symbolic role. Cypress wood, when available, was likely used for certain practical purposes. Its durability and resistance to decay could have made it suitable for specific types of construction, religious artifacts, or even as timber for coffins, further linking it to funerary practices. However, it was probably not a primary timber source compared to native acacias or sycamores, given its likely rarity or specific cultivation. The cultivation of cypress trees would have required careful planning and irrigation in the arid Egyptian climate. While relatively hardy once established, young trees would have needed consistent watering to thrive. Gardeners entrusted with these sacred plantings would have understood their profound symbolic importance, tending to them with a reverence matching their purpose. You can almost hear the soft whisper of the wind through their dense needles, a quiet lament or a promise of eternal peace. The presence of the cypress tree in ancient Egyptian gardens, particularly in their funerary landscapes, provides a fascinating insight into their attitudes towards death and eternity. Unlike some cultures that associate specific trees with grief and sorrow, the Egyptian cypress seems to have been more about enduring life, protection, and the promise of a peaceful transition. It offered a sense of continuity and steadfastness in the face of loss. It's a bit like having a wise old elder silently watching over things, providing comfort just by being there, while not typically found in the vibrant pleasure gardens of the living. Its strategic placement in temple gardens or necropolises made it an integral part of the broader ancient Egyptian horticultural tapestry. These were gardens for the soul, spaces designed to facilitate the journey of the deceased and to provide spiritual solace to the living. As you stand beneath the towering cypress, feeling its somber yet comforting presence, you reflect on its quiet, powerful message. It reminds us that ancient Egyptian gardens were not merely places of beauty or utility, but profound expressions of their deepest beliefs. The cypress, with its unwavering green and its aspiration towards the sky, served as a perpetual guardian of eternity, a silent testament to a civilization's enduring hope for life beyond life. Its timeless silhouette continues to mark the places where the living remembered the dead, and stepping away from the solemn, enduring presence of the cypress. Your journey through the varied landscapes of ancient Egyptian gardens now leads you to a tree that perfectly embodies resilience and adaptability in the face of harsh desert conditions. The tamarisk, Tamarix nilotta, while perhaps lacking the grand symbolic flair of the lotus or the direct utility of the date palm, the tamarisk was a quiet, unassuming survivor, playing an important role in stabilizing fragile ecosystems and providing vital resources in less hospitable environments. Imagine yourself on the fringes of the cultivated land, where the lush green of the Nile floodplain begins to yield to the encroaching sands of the desert. Here, in areas prone to salinization or seasonal flooding, you encounter the tamarisk tree. It might appear more like a large, scraggly bush than a majestic tree, with its slender, often reddish-brown branches and tiny, scale-like leaves that give it a feathery, almost ethereal appearance. In spring, it bursts forth with a profusion of small, pinkish-white flowers, creating a soft, misty haze. You can almost feel the dry, dusty air and hear the faint rustle of its delicate foliage, a sound distinctly different from the broad leaves of other trees. The tamarisk's most remarkable quality is its incredible adaptability to harsh conditions. Unlike many other plants, it thrives in saline soils and can tolerate periods of drought as well as seasonal inundation. It has a remarkable ability to excrete salt through its leaves, which then fall, effectively desalinating the soil around it over time. This made it a pioneering plant, often found stabilizing riverbanks, coastal areas, and desert wadis, dry riverbeds that occasionally flood. You'd see it forming natural windbreaks, protecting more delicate agricultural land from sand encroachment. It was nature's own land reclamation expert, quietly working to make inhospitable areas slightly more hospitable. For the ancient Egyptians, the tamarisk wasn't just an ecological workhorse, it provided practical resources. Its wood, though not as large or straight as other trees, was dense and durable, making it suitable for smaller implements, tools, and even charcoal production. You might see a craftsman shaping a sturdy handle from tamarisk wood, appreciating its toughness. Its branches could be used for simple fencing or brushwood, and its fibers, though coarse, could be twisted into rope. It was a utilitarian tree, providing necessities where other more demanding species struggled to grow. While not a primary food source, the tamarisk occasionally produces small, edible galls or secretions, sometimes referred to as manna, particularly after insect activity. While not a staple, these could have provided supplemental nourishment in times of scarcity, adding to its reputation as a survivor. Historians still argue whether the manna described in biblical texts, which sustained the Israelites in the desert, might have referred to the sugary excretions of tamarisk trees after insect infestation. The tamarisk also had a subtle symbolic meaning, often associated with resilience, endurance, and protection. Its ability to withstand the harshness of the desert and provide shelter made it a symbol of steadfastness. In some ancient Egyptian religious texts, a tamarisk tree is mentioned in connection with the god Osiris, particularly in the myth of his dismembered body being found encased within a tamarisk tree in Byblos. This association, while perhaps morbid, firmly links the tamarisk to the cycle of death and rebirth and the containment of divine essence. It's a reminder that even unassuming plants can carry profound mythological weight. The cultivation of tamarisk in gardens was likely less about formal planting and more about managing its wild growth or planting it strategically to serve specific functions, like creating windbreaks or stabilizing sandy areas. It wouldn't have been found in the meticulously manicured inner sanctums of a royal garden, but rather on the periphery, a testament to its practical role in shaping the outer boundaries of cultivated lands. You might see a boundary marker, a line of tamarisk trees, quietly doing their important work. Its feathery appearance and small, scale-like leaves also made it resistant to water loss, a crucial adaptation in an arid environment. This inherent design made it a perfect choice for the edges of gardens, protecting the more water-intensive plants within. It was a silent guardian, sacrificing its own aesthetic for the benefit of the more flamboyant blooms. The tamarisk serves as a reminder that the gardens of ancient Egypt weren't solely about curated beauty or primary food production. They encompassed a broader understanding of land management and ecological balance. The Egyptians recognized the value of plants that could thrive in marginal lands, providing not only resources but also stability and protection for their more fertile areas. As you consider the tamarisk swaying gently on the edge of the desert, you feel its quiet strength. It represents the ancient Egyptians' deep practical knowledge of their environment, their ability to utilize even the most challenging landscapes. The tamarisk, an understated survivor, whispers tales of enduring against the odds, of providing subtle but vital support, and of standing as a testament to life's persistent struggle and triumph, even in the harshest of lands. It's a humble hero of the ancient botanical world, moving beyond the resilient tamarisk, which silently guarded the edges of cultivation. Your journey through ancient Egyptian gardens now brings you to a tree of remarkable versatility, often thorny, yet yielding invaluable treasures, the Acacia nilotica, or Vachellia nilotica. This wasn't just a background plant. The acacia was a multi-purpose powerhouse, providing timber, medicine, food, and even a crucial ingredient for writing, making it an indispensable part of the Egyptian landscape, both wild and cultivated. Imagine stepping into a less formal, perhaps more utilitarian section of a larger estate, or even wandering along the banks of a remote wadi. Here you see sturdy, often sprawling acacia trees, their branches sometimes thorny, their small, often rounded leaves providing a sparse but effective shade. In bloom, they might be covered in distinctive spherical clusters of bright yellow flowers, filling the air with a sweet, slightly powdery scent. You can almost feel the sharp prick of a thorn if you brush too close, a reminder of its protective nature. The acacia tree was absolutely essential to ancient Egyptian life. Its wood was highly valued for its hardness, durability, and resistance to decay. It was widely used in shipbuilding, creating the sturdy hulls of Nile boats and river barges that were the lifeblood of Egyptian transport and trade. You'd also see it used for furniture, tools, agricultural implements, and even as a common material for the construction of shrines and religious artifacts. It was, in essence, their primary heavy-duty timber, the backbone of their construction industry. Imagine the rhythmic thud of an axe striking acacia wood, shaping it into something vital beyond its wood. The acacia produced a remarkable substance, gum arabic. This viscous gum, which oozed from the tree's bark, was collected and had numerous applications. Most notably, it was a crucial binding agent for pigments in ancient Egyptian painting. Scribes and artists would mix powdered minerals with water and gum arabic to create vibrant, long-lasting paints for tomb decorations, papyrus illustrations, and temple reliefs. Without gum arabic, the iconic colors of Egyptian art might have faded long ago. It was the unsung hero behind countless masterpieces. One might even joke that without acacia, ancient Egyptian art would have just been a pile of colored dust. The gum also found its way into medicine and cosmetics. It was used as a demulcent to soothe sore throats and upset stomachs, and as an ingredient in various salves and ointments for skin ailments. In cosmetics, it could act as a thickening agent or a setting gel for elaborate hairstyles. You might observe a physician carefully dissolving lumps of gum in water, preparing a soothing draught for a patient. The pods and seeds of the acacia, particularly Acacia nilotica, also had uses. The pods, rich in tannins, were used in tanning leather, producing durable and flexible hides for sandals, bags, and other goods. In times of scarcity, the pods and seeds might have also been used as animal fodder. This demonstrates the tree's complete utility, nothing going to waste. The acacia also held symbolic meaning. Its hardiness and ability to thrive in challenging environments made it a symbol of resilience and endurance. Its protective thorns might have also been seen as a symbol of guardianship. In some mythical accounts, a form of the tree, perhaps a sacred acacia, was associated with the birthplace of certain deities or acted as a dwelling place for spirits. Historians still argue about the precise theological significance of the acacia in specific cults versus its more general symbolic association with endurance and protection. Cultivation of acacia trees in a formal garden setting might have been limited, as they were often wild harvested. However, managing acacia groves or strategically planting them in less fertile areas, particularly for timber or gum production, would have been a deliberate horticultural practice. You'd see communities gathering the gum during specific seasons, a valuable harvest that provided essential materials for their crafts and economy. Its presence, whether wild or managed, defined large parts of the landscape. The distinctive yellow flowers, though small, provided a source of nectar for bees, contributing to the production of honey, another valuable resource in ancient Egypt, used as a sweetener and a medicinal agent. So, even the seemingly decorative aspect of the acacia served a practical purpose. The widespread use of acacia products speaks volumes about the Egyptians' intimate knowledge of their environment and their ability to extract maximum value from every available resource. They didn't just survive in their world, they mastered it, transforming its raw materials into the very foundations of their sophisticated civilization. The thorny acacia, often overlooked in favor of the more glamorous garden plants, was truly a silent giant in their resource economy. As you reflect on the versatile acacia, you feel its enduring strength and its quiet contribution to the grandeur of ancient Egypt. It provided the very structure for their boats, the medium for their art, and countless tools for their daily lives. The acacia, with its thorny branches and golden blooms, stands as a testament to the ancient Egyptians' ingenuity, their resourcefulness, and their deep, practical connection to the natural world. Its legacy is etched into the very fabric of their surviving artifacts, a silent testament to its profound importance. After traversing the thorny yet invaluable world of the acacia, our final stretch through the forgotten gardens of ancient Egypt brings us to a quiet reflection on their enduring legacy. You've explored a vibrant botanical tapestry, far richer and more complex than mere pyramids and temples might suggest. These gardens, whether grand or humble, were living reflections of a civilization deeply attuned to nature, a people who understood the profound interconnectedness of plants with their daily sustenance, spiritual beliefs, medical practices, and aesthetic desires. The knowledge gleaned from these ancient green spaces didn't vanish with the pharaohs. It subtly, yet significantly, influenced later cultures and continues to echo in our world today, even if largely unnoticed. Imagine yourself now, standing at the edge of one of these ancient gardens, but with a foot metaphorically in the present. The sounds of distant modern life begin to subtly blend with the whispers of the past. You reflect on the lotus, that ubiquitous symbol of rebirth and creation, whose influence extended far beyond Egypt, inspiring art and philosophy across the Hellenistic world, into India, and eventually, subtly, even into Western esotericism. Its elegant form and profound symbolism transcended cultural boundaries, a testament to the universality of its message. You realize that every time you see a stylized lily pad or a flower emerging from murky waters in art, you're witnessing a faint echo of that ancient Egyptian spiritual principle. Consider the papyrus, the very medium of their written word. Without the papyrus plant, the vast majority of what we know about ancient Egypt would have been lost to the sands of time. Its enduring, flexible sheets preserved their history, literature, medicine, and administrative records for millennia. This innovation wasn't confined to Egypt. It facilitated the spread of knowledge across the ancient Mediterranean, paving the way for the development of books and libraries. You're holding a direct descendant of that ancient technology in your hands, even if it's a digital screen. It's a bit mind-boggling to think that a humble reed could have such a monumental impact on global literacy. The date palm and the fig tree, those steadfast providers of sustenance, continued to be vital crops for successive civilizations that inhabited Egypt and beyond. Their cultivation techniques, perfected over millennia by Egyptian gardeners, laid the groundwork for agricultural practices that persist to this day. When you snack on a dried fig or a date, you are partaking in a culinary tradition that reaches back to the dawn of civilization. Thanks to the foresight of those ancient horticulturists, they essentially invented the concept of healthy snacks. Even the more specialized plants carried their influence forward. The moringa, with its miracle oil, continues to be rediscovered by modern science for its nutritional and medicinal properties, echoing the ancient Egyptians. Intuitive understanding. The psychoactive properties of the poppy and mandrake, though shrouded in mystery and danger, were part of a broader ancient understanding of herbal remedies and altered states, a precursor to modern pharmacology and ethnobotany. This knowledge, though often passed down through secretive channels, undoubtedly contributed to the global pharmacopoeia. Historians still argue about the precise channels through which Egyptian botanical knowledge diffused to later Greek and Roman scholars, and how much was lost versus preserved. The intentional design of these gardens, the symmetrical layouts, the integration of water features, the creation of shaded retreats influenced later Roman, Islamic, and eventually European garden styles. The very concept of a formal, enclosed garden as an oasis, a paradise on earth, can be traced back to these ancient Egyptian prototypes. When you visit a formal European garden today, with its structured beds and reflecting pools, you're looking at a distant relative of a pharaoh's pleasure garden. The myrrh and frankincense that permeated their sacred spaces found new life in later religious traditions, becoming cornerstone elements in Christian and Islamic rituals, a testament to their enduring spiritual power and captivating aroma. The scent of sanctity, as it were, has a very long lineage indeed. What's truly striking is the Egyptians' holistic approach to their gardens. They weren't just agricultural fields or decorative plots. They were intricate ecosystems designed to provide sustenance, medicine, beauty, shade, sacred spaces, and symbols of eternal life. Every plant had a purpose. Every element contributed to the well-being of the individual and the state. This deep respect for nature, this profound understanding of its gifts, is a powerful lesson from a forgotten past. As you consider the faint rustling of the papyrus, the sweet scent of a phantom lotus, and the enduring shade of a ghostly date palm, you realize that these forgotten flowers and trees are not truly forgotten. Their essence lives in the foods we eat, the medicines we use, the art we admire, and the very concept of a garden as a place of respite and spiritual connection. The ancient Egyptian gardeners, through their tireless efforts and profound botanical wisdom, laid down roots that continue to nourish and inspire us millennia later. Their legacy is not just etched in stone, but perpetually blooming in the quiet corners of our collective consciousness. A subtle, sweet fragrance carried on the desert wind. You close your eyes, and for a moment you can almost taste the ancient air, feel the warm earth beneath your bare feet, and hear the gentle hum of life in those vibrant, timeless gardens.